Sometimes saying the truth and being openly yourself can cost you a whole career. Due to being the first openly gay celebrity in South Korea, this former TV entertainer went through a lot of pain. From being fired by his employer after coming out to experiencing public shaming and discrimination in the cruelest way possible. This is the tragic story of Hong Seok-cheon, the destructive confession. Prior to the day Hong Seok-cheon revealed his big secret, his life was different. Hong's entertainment career began with modeling and later with landing a job as a reporter for Live TV Information Center. Due to his versatility and ability to make everybody in the room cry with laughter, he became a well-respected figure in the entertainment industry, often appearing in different sitcoms, variety, or children's shows, and even Korean dramas as well. Everything changed when the year 2000 rolled in and Hong decided to publicly admit a major thing that would change his life forever. Since Hong played a character with an ambiguous orientation in a since then cancelled sitcom, 3 Men, 3 Women, it made the public's curiosity shoot up. On one variety show, Hong was asked a question regarding his own romantic interests and if he preferred men in real life too. Despite the question being about such a sensitive topic at the time, Hong decided to be brave and he honestly answered that he was homosexual. What made him say this out loud, he explained later in his life. "I did it so I could confidently love someone that understood me and live an honest and honorable life." If this happened today, the response to Hong's confession would be extremely different than it was in the year 2000. After Hong came out of the closet, his life turned upside down. Within 24 hours, the entertainment network Hong worked for fired him from all the projects he worked on. The public's uproar was so intense and horrible that he decided to lock himself inside his house, afraid people would try to physically harm him if he appeared in public. Hong says that because of the amount of hate he was receiving, he began drinking heavily and even started smoking 3 packs of cigarettes a day. He was also extremely ashamed and felt simply terrible. Hong said, "I knew my career was over. It was like somebody suddenly dropped a dynamite on everything I had worked so hard for. One day was there and the next day was gone." The reaction of the public was bad enough on its own, but unfortunately, Hong's parents weren't so happy about their son's decision either. The response he got from them made him believe that there was something wrong with him. His parents found out through the television, even though he already told his sister about his sexuality 3 years before he came out publicly. Hong's sister allegedly said, "Let's keep it a secret until they pass away." But Hong couldn't take it anymore, and so he revealed the truth to the world. The reaction of his parents was extreme though. "My parents said we should take pesticides together and pass away. They're people of the countryside. They wanted to move." That didn't stop his parents from hoping that he would bring a woman home one day. Oftentimes, Hong's mother would call him and say that she kept him in her prayers and that he could still marry a nice Korean woman if he tried. She said, "Everyone can change." Hong suddenly found himself under the attack of both sides. The public didn't accept him, and their hateful words hurt like knives. Hong's family not accepting him at first and not even understanding what it means to like men only made the pain worse. He even debated if he should just leave South Korea for good. Then, stuck in a complete darkness and having no one to lean on, Hong thought that there was only one way to escape the hate and the pain. Almost gone. When Hong appeared on the variety show Dong Chimi, he talked about how he almost took his own life after he came out of the closet and was immediately met with no acceptance and support. Hong expressed, "I lost everything after I came out. Even my family couldn't understand me. At that time, I didn't even want to hear people comforting me like, 'Oh, it's hard, isn't it?' At first, Hong thought he could get through if he just tried to ignore all the nasty things people were saying about him. But eventually, everything started to pile up and Hong felt like losing the battle. One night, he decided to go to the Han River. Han River is unfortunately a common place where people visit when they want to end their life. Now, the bridge over Han River has lifeline phones and positive messages to help those in need. Hong would have ended it all if it wasn't for one person who seemed to understand him perfectly. He said that before he would leave this world, he wanted to say goodbye first. Hong shared, "Before I left this world, I wanted to talk to someone. I couldn't call my family in that situation, so I called my ex-boyfriend, who knew a lot about me." His ex-boyfriend picked up almost immediately, and it seemed like he knew exactly what Hong was about to do. Angered by Hong's decision, the ex-boyfriend conveyed his emotions by cursing Hong out. With how brutally honest Hong's ex-boyfriend was, he essentially saved his life. Hong described it, "I had decided to just hang up and pass away if he didn't pick up after like 10 rings, but he picked up in 3. I think he was surprised because I wasn't one to call that late at night." Without a word, he asked, "Are you at the Han River right now?" And he started to severely curse me out. I came to my senses and told him, "I'll go home." Even though Hong decided to give himself another chance at life, his career was completely over at that time. Hong revealed that he didn't get cast into any variety shows or broadcasts for 3 long years. Despite thinking that people would be more accepting of people like him in the new century, it was all the same back then. If it wasn't for SBS Korean drama Perfect Love, Hong might never be where he is right now. It seemed like the drama was made perfectly for Hong, as it revolved around a gay character who faced complex social issues after he came out to family and friends. Although it seemed like Hong was back on track and finally ready to return to his old life, the drama wasn't met with much positive feedback. Seok himself had this to say: "After the public found out about my casting in the series, people protested in front of the SBS building with big posters saying Hong Seok-cheon should not be in the show. But despite the public's outrage, SBS fought for him and stood up for Hong, saying that he never did anything wrong. Hong said he'd be eternally grateful for their actions and words." Seok was obviously not wanted in the entertainment industry at the time, and so he decided to start completely fresh. Before he decided to dip into the culinary world, Hong actually danced and sang in different clubs because it was the only way he could make money at the time. Hong opened up his first restaurant called Our Place in 2002, 2 years after he came out, and over the years, he opened up several more in the popular area of Itaewon, where a lot of young adults go to seek out fun and where one can find many LGBT-friendly places. Even though he owned some of the most popular and well-loved restaurants in Itaewon neighborhood, he unfortunately had to close all of them due to the financial hardships brought by the pandemic. Hong's beginnings in the restaurant industry were far from easy. For a while, a lot of people didn't come to eat but to verbally insult him instead. Hong shared, "They'd walk into my restaurant and would see me and loudly say, 'I didn't know this was a gay restaurant,' or a group of men would get drunk and yell homosexual." Even after that, as the public's perception of Hong started to change a little, he still had to push through some of the hardest moments in his life. Brighter days. In 2008, Hong decided to adopt and help to raise his sister's 2 children. Since his sister was going through a tough divorce, Hong decided to go through a lot of paperwork to become a legal guardian of his nephew and niece. Even though Hong lent a helping hand to his sister, he was still met with a lot of struggles, especially when it came to coming to public school events like graduations. When asked about this, Seok got immediately choked up and said, "One of the reasons I sent my son to study abroad was because I was afraid he would be made fun of by his peers. I didn't go anywhere close to his school. I wanted to go so bad to take photos and make memories, but I pretended I was sleeping in. I wanted to go, but I was never able to be there. I am so sorry," to my son and daughter. Hong's relationship with his family had seemed to get better over time as well. During the show Mom I'm Home, Hong returned to his parents' house for the time being, and along with his mother, they opened up about what she felt when her son came out to her. Since Hong was her 4th child and their only son, her status in the family suddenly rose. After Hong came out, his mother became afraid of the reaction of the rest of the family, and she didn't realize how hard it must have been for him back then. Despite not understanding Hong at the time, she still stayed with him and took care of him when he needed her the most. As the time went on, his mother and father became much more understanding of what kind of a person he was. The public perception has shifted as well. For a lot of LGBT kids and K-pop idols, and the community itself as well, Hong has become somewhat of a role model. At the time in South Korea, a lot of people didn't even know what coming out was. Hong has now been striving to break the negative perception of the LGBT community by Koreans' conservative population, one day at a time. Along with other openly gay idols such as Holland and Marshall, they are giving support to those who need it. Hong has proven over and over again that even if no one seems to understand you at first, time is really a magic tool and that hope still exists during the darkest times. Let us know in the comments what you guys think about today's video. Thank you for watching. Bye!